Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Silent Night, Broken Heart. Dr. Vincent Torres pulled into his driveway at 6:47 a.m. on December 26th, his hands still trembling from exhaustion after working a brutal 36-hour shift in the emergency room. Christmas had been a parade of overdoses, domestic violence calls, and heart attacks that kept him away from his family when they needed him most. Vincent had built his reputation as St. Mary's most skilled trauma surgeon over 15 years, earning respect through his calm demeanor under pressure and his ability to save lives when others had given up hope. At 42, his dark hair showed premature streaks of silver, and his once athletic frame had grown lean from the demanding schedule he maintained to provide for his family. As he entered through the side door, the house felt unnaturally quiet. Christmas decorations still twinkled in the living room, but something was wrong. The dining room table, which should have been cleared by now, still held the remnants of yesterday's feast, but only 3 place settings. "Emma?" he called softly, not wanting to wake anyone if they were sleeping. His 15-year-old daughter appeared in the hallway, still in yesterday's clothes, her eyes red and puffy. Emma had inherited his olive complexion and her mother's delicate features, but right now she looked broken. "Dad?" she whispered, running into his arms. "What happened, sweetheart? Where were you yesterday? I looked for you when I called during my break." Emma's body shook against his chest. "Mom and Grandma Patricia said there wasn't room for me at the table. They said I was too dramatic about wanting to spend Christmas here instead of going to Aunt Monica's house with the little kids. So I drove myself home and spent Christmas alone." Vincent's blood ran cold. His wife Lisa and his mother Patricia had excluded his daughter from Christmas dinner in his own house. "They made you drive home alone on Christmas Eve? In that old Honda?" "Mom said I was being selfish for not wanting to babysit the cousins. She said real family sacrifices for each other." Emma pulled back, wiping her nose. "I tried calling you, but they said you were too busy saving strangers to care about your own family." The words hit Vincent like a physical blow. He had worked every Christmas for the past 5 years, building their comfortable lifestyle, paying for Emma's private school, funding Lisa's endless renovation projects. And this was how they treated his daughter? "I warmed up some leftover Chinese takeout for dinner," Emma continued. "I watched A Christmas Story by myself and pretended you were here." Vincent held his daughter tighter, a cold fury building in his chest that had nothing to do with fatigue. In the ER, he was known for his iron control, his ability to compartmentalize emotion and focus on what needed to be done. That same clinical detachment was settling over him now. "Emma, I want you to know that what happened was not okay. Not your fault. And it will never happen again. It's not the first time, Dad. When you work late, Mom and Grandma act like I'm not really part of the family. Like I'm some burden you brought into their lives." Vincent pulled back to study his daughter's face. "What do you mean it's not the first time? Last month when you were at that medical conference in Dallas, Mom told me I could either eat dinner in my room or go to McDonald's by myself. She said she and Grandma needed adult time to discuss important family matters." The clinical detachment cracked slightly. Vincent had been at that conference presenting a paper on innovative trauma procedures, building his professional reputation. Meanwhile, his wife and mother were systematically excluding his daughter from her own home. "Why didn't you tell me? I tried, but you always seemed so tired. And Mom said if I complained to you about how they treated me, it would just add more stress to your life. She said you'd blame me for causing problems." Vincent studied Emma's face, seeing the careful way she had learned to navigate the emotional minefield of their household. His brilliant, sensitive daughter had been walking on eggshells, protecting him from the truth about what happened when he wasn't home. "Emma, I need you to understand something. You are my daughter. You are family. And no one, not your mother, not your grandmother, no one, has the right to make you feel unwelcome in your own home." "But Mom says." "I don't care what your mother says." The words came out harder than he intended, and Emma's eyes widened. Vincent took a deep breath, forcing his voice back to its normal calm tone. "What I mean is, I'm going to fix this. You should never have to spend Christmas alone." From upstairs came the sound of Lisa's alarm clock. Vincent had maybe 30 minutes before she came down to start her morning routine of yoga and expensive coffee. "Emma, I want you to go pack a bag. We're going to stay at the Hampton in downtown for a few days while I figure some things out." "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" The question hung in the air between them. Vincent realized he didn't have an answer yet. 20 years of marriage, most of them good, But something had shifted in recent years. Lisa had grown distant, critical, always finding fault with his schedule, his priorities, his relationship with Emma. I don't know yet, sweetheart. But I know that you deserve better than what happened yesterday. As Emma headed upstairs to pack, Vincent walked through the house with fresh eyes. The expensive furniture Lisa had insisted on, the kitchen renovation that had cost him 6 months of overtime, the 3-car garage filled with her BMW and his mother's Cadillac, all of it funded by his grueling work schedule. In the kitchen, he found Lisa's phone charging on the counter. She'd always been careless about security, using Emma's birthday as her passcode for everything. Vincent hesitated for only a moment before picking it up. The text thread that appeared at the top of her messages made his blood freeze. Can't wait for V to leave for his next conference. 3 days at the cabin sounds perfect. Emma will be at her friend's house anyway. I told her she couldn't stay here while you and I have our romantic getaway. The response, from someone named Ryan Redhart: your husband's a fool for working so much. If you were mine, I'd never leave you alone. Soon, baby. Soon. Vincent's hands remained perfectly steady as he scrolled through weeks of messages. Plans for secret meetings. Complaints about his work schedule. Discussions about Emma being in the way of their relationship. And then, the message that made everything crystal clear. Patricia is on board with getting Emma shipped off to boarding school next year. Says she's always been too attached to V anyway. Once she's gone, we'll have so much more freedom. Vincent set the phone down exactly where he'd found it. His breathing remained calm and controlled, just like in surgery when a patient was crashing and every decision mattered. His wife wasn't just having an affair. She was planning to send his daughter away to make room for her new relationship. And his own mother was helping. Upstairs, he could hear Emma moving around, packing her things like he'd asked. His daughter, who had spent Christmas alone, who had been systematically excluded from her own family, who was being plotted against by the people who should have protected her. Vincent walked to his study and sat down at his desk. From a locked drawer, he pulled out a leather portfolio that contained his important documents, financial records, and contact information. He opened his laptop and began typing. The letter took him 15 minutes to write. It was precise, thorough, and devastating. When he finished, he printed 2 copies, sealed one in an envelope addressed to Lisa, and placed it prominently on her side of the bed. The second copy went into his briefcase. Emma appeared in the doorway with her backpack. Dad, are you okay? You look different. Vincent looked at his daughter, brilliant, loyal, kind-hearted Emma, who deserved so much better than what she'd received. I'm fine, sweetheart. Better than I've been in a long time, actually. Are you ready to go? As they walked to his car, Vincent felt the familiar calm that came over him in the operating room when he was about to perform a particularly complex procedure. Every step had to be perfect. Every cut had to be precise. And there was no room for mercy when it came to saving what mattered most. Emma deserved a father who would fight for her. And Vincent Torres had never lost a fight when something truly important was at stake. Chapter 2. The Awakening. 3 hours later, Vincent was sitting in the hotel restaurant with Emma when his phone began buzzing with increasingly frantic calls from Lisa. He let each one go to voicemail. Dad, aren't you going to answer? Emma asked, pushing scrambled eggs around her plate. Not right now. Eat your breakfast. The letter had been simple and direct. Lisa, I know about Ryan. I know about your plans for Emma. I know about the boarding school scheme. You have made it clear that neither Emma nor I are welcome in the family you're trying to build. I'm simply accommodating your wishes. Emma and I will be staying elsewhere while I determine our next steps. Do not contact me. Do not contact Emma. Do not involve the police. You chose your path. Now you get to walk it alone. Vincent. Vincent's phone rang again. This time it was his mother. You should probably take that one, Emma said quietly. Vincent answered. Hello, Patricia. Vincent, what is this nonsense? Lisa is hysterical. She says you've taken Emma and disappeared because of some misunderstanding about Christmas dinner. You need to come home right now and fix this. There's been no misunderstanding, Patricia. I understand the situation perfectly. Don't be dramatic. So Emma had to miss one family dinner. She's old enough to understand that adults sometimes need space for important conversations. Important conversations. Is that what we're calling it now? There was a pause. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. You and Lisa decided Emma wasn't welcome at Christmas dinner in her own home. You've been working together to exclude her from family activities. And now you're planning to ship her off to boarding school to make room for Lisa's new relationship. The silence on the other end stretched for nearly 30 seconds. Vincent, Patricia finally said, her voice carefully controlled. I think you're having some kind of breakdown. The stress of your job, the long hours. Maybe you should see someone. Talk to a professional. It was masterfully done, Vincent had to admit. Deflect, gaslight, make him question his own perceptions. Patricia Torres had been manipulating people longer than he'd been alive. I'm not having a breakdown, Patricia. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Then come home. Be reasonable. We can discuss this like adults. Adults. Vincent looked across the table at Emma, who was listening to every word with wide eyes. Adults don't exclude a 15-year-old from Christmas dinner. Adults don't plot to send a child away from her father. Adults don't cover for their daughter-in-law's affairs. I don't know what lies Emma has been telling you. Emma hasn't told me anything about the affair, Patricia. She doesn't know. But you do, don't you? Another long pause. Vincent, you're making a terrible mistake. Lisa loves you. We all love you. If you would just come home and talk this through rationally. I am being rational. For the first time in years, I'm seeing the situation clearly. Emma and I are not coming home. You can't just take Emma away from her mother. Watch me. Vincent hung up and immediately turned off his phone. Emma stared at him with a mixture of admiration and worry. Dad, what affair? Vincent set down his coffee cup carefully. His daughter deserved the truth, but she also deserved to be protected from the worst of it. Your mother has been seeing someone else, Emma. Someone named Ryan. They've been planning a future together that doesn't include us. Emma's face went pale. How long? I don't know yet, but long enough to make detailed plans. Is that why they wanted me gone? To make room for him? Vincent reached across the table and took his daughter's hand. Yes. Emma was quiet for a long time, processing. When she finally spoke, her voice was steady. What are we going to do? I'm going to make sure you're safe and happy. Beyond that, I'm still figuring it out. Are you going to divorce her? Probably. Good, Emma said quietly. Then, more firmly. Good. I'm tired of pretending everything's normal when it's not. Vincent studied his daughter's face. Emma had been carrying this burden for longer than he'd realized, walking through a minefield of family dysfunction while he worked his demanding schedule. Emma, I need you to know that none of this is your fault. Not the affair, not the problems in my marriage, not what happened at Christmas. You are not responsible for any of the adult failures in this situation. I know, Dad. And I'm proud of you for leaving. The simple statement hit Vincent harder than any of Lisa's accusations or Patricia's manipulations ever could. His phone, though turned off, sat on the table between them like a landmine. When he turned it back on, there would be dozens of calls, voicemails, text messages. Lisa would be frantic. Patricia would be furious. Ryan would probably be advised to lay low for a while. But Vincent wasn't ready for that chaos yet. He had planning to do. Emma, I need to ask you something, and I want you to tell me the truth. Over the past year or so, have you noticed anything else? Anyone coming to the house when I wasn't there? Your mother acting differently? Emma considered the question carefully. There was this guy who came to fix the pool equipment a few months ago. Ryan something. But he was there for like 4 hours, and I thought it was weird because the pool was working fine. And Mom kept sending me on errands, to the store, to drop things off at the dry cleaner, whenever he was there. Did you ever see them together? Once. I came back early from the grocery store because I forgot your credit card. They were sitting really close together on the patio, drinking wine. When Mom saw me, she got all flustered and said they were just discussing the pool maintenance schedule. Vincent nodded. Ryan wasn't just some random affair partner. He was someone with legitimate access to their home, someone Lisa could explain away if necessary, someone who could blend into their social circle without raising immediate suspicions. Anything else? Mom's been going out more in the evenings. Book club, yoga class, girls' night. But she always seems really happy when she gets home, you know? Like, happier than she ever is when you're around. The clinical detachment that had served Vincent so well in the ER was beginning to crack around the edges. Lisa had been living a double life for months, maybe longer. And she'd been so confident in her deception that she'd grown careless about hiding it. Dad, Emma's voice was small. What if Mom tries to say you kidnapped me or something? What if she calls the police? Vincent considered this. Lisa was smart enough to know that involving law enforcement would open her life to scrutiny she couldn't afford. But she was also desperate now, and desperate people made poor decisions. She won't call the police, sweetheart. She has too much to hide. But even if she did, I'm your father. I have every right to spend time with you. What about school? Winter break ends next week. We'll figure it out. Vincent was quiet for a moment, thinking through his options. He had built a successful career, accumulated significant assets, established relationships throughout the medical community. But he'd also been so focused on providing for his family that he'd failed to protect the most important part of it. That mistake would not be repeated. Emma, how would you feel about transferring to a different school? Maybe somewhere we could get a fresh start. Away from here. Away from here. Emma looked around the hotel restaurant, then back at her father. Honestly, I'd love that. I've never really fit in at school anyway. All the other kids, their families are different. Their parents are around more. I always felt like I was pretending to be something I wasn't. Vincent felt a surge of protective anger. His daughter had been isolated not just at home, but at school as well, living a carefully constructed lie to cover for the dysfunction in their family. Then that's what we'll do. But first, I need to take care of some things here. What kind of things? Vincent looked at his daughter, seeing himself in her dark eyes, seeing the strength she'd inherited from him along with his stubborn refusal to accept unfair treatment. The kind of things that make sure your mother and grandmother understand that their actions have consequences. Emma nodded slowly. Can I help? The question surprised him. Emma, Dad, they hurt both of us. They excluded me from my own family, and they betrayed you. If you're going to make them pay for that, I want to be part of it. Vincent studied his daughter's face. At 15, Emma was old enough to understand the gravity of what had happened. She was also old enough to participate in ensuring it never happened again. What did you have in mind? Emma's smile was sharp and familiar. She had inherited more than just his eyes. Well, she said thoughtfully, I know where Mom keeps her backup credit cards. And I know Ryan's last name and where he works. And I definitely know all of Grandma Patricia's secrets. Vincent felt something cold and calculating settle into place in his chest. In the operating room, the most complex procedures required a team approach. Everyone had to know their role, execute their part flawlessly, and trust the others to do the same. Tell me everything you know, he said quietly. Emma leaned forward, and for the next hour, Vincent learned just how much his brilliant daughter had observed while she was being systematically excluded from her own family. By the time they finished talking, Vincent's plan was beginning to take shape, and it was going to be far more comprehensive than a simple divorce. Chapter 3. Gathering Intelligence. Dr. Vincent Torres had always been methodical in his approach to complex problems, whether he was reconstructing a shattered femur or diagnosing an unusual constellation of symptoms. Now, as he sat in his hotel room with Emma napping on the adjoining bed, he applied that same systematic thinking to the problem of Lisa and Ryan. Over the past 2 days, he had turned his phone on for exactly 30 minutes each morning and evening, just long enough to monitor the increasingly desperate messages flooding his voicemail. Lisa's calls had evolved from angry to pleading to threatening. Patricia's messages grew more manipulative with each attempt. But it was the messages they weren't leaving that told him the most. Vincent opened his laptop and began typing detailed notes about everything Emma had told him. Ryan Kellerman worked for Pinnacle Pool Services, a company that maintained pools for several upscale neighborhoods, including their own. He was 34, divorced, and according to Emma's careful observations, had been visiting their house far more frequently than their pool maintenance schedule required. More interesting was what Emma had discovered about Patricia's secrets. His mother, it turned out, had been systematically stealing from the church's charity fund for nearly 3 years, using her position as treasurer to cover small amounts that she claimed were for administrative expenses. Emma had overheard a heated phone conversation between Patricia and Father Miguel about missing money and had pieced together the truth. I didn't know if I should tell you, Emma had said. I mean, she's your mom. But she's been so mean to me, and she always acts like she's better than everyone else. Vincent had reassured his daughter that she'd done the right thing by telling him. Patricia's theft explained her increasing financial anxiety and her growing dependence on Vincent's generosity. It also gave him leverage. A soft knock at the hotel room door interrupted his planning. Vincent checked the peephole and was surprised to see Dr. Michael Reeves, his closest colleague from the hospital. Emma, he said quietly, gently shaking his daughter awake. Mike's here. Go into the bathroom for a few minutes, okay? Emma nodded and gathered her things. Vincent waited until he heard the bathroom door close before opening the hotel room door. Mike, how did you find me? Dr. Reeves was Vincent's age, but looked older, worn down by the same demanding schedule that had kept Vincent away from home. Your credit card. I called in a favor with hospital security. Vince, what the hell is going on? Lisa called the hospital yesterday, saying you'd had some kind of breakdown and taken Emma. Vincent stepped aside to let his friend enter. Lisa's having an affair. I found out and left. No breakdown required. Mike sat heavily in the chair by the window. Jesus. I'm sorry, man. How are you holding up? Better than I expected. Emma's handling it well, too. Where is Emma? Lisa's telling everyone you kidnapped her. Emma's here with me because she wants to be. Lisa and my mother excluded her from Christmas dinner in her own house, Mike. They're planning to ship her off to boarding school so Lisa can have more freedom with her boyfriend. Mike was quiet for a long moment. That's fucked up, Vince. Even for Lisa. Vincent raised an eyebrow. Even for Lisa? Come on, man. You had to know she was unhappy. The way she talked about your schedule, about feeling like a single parent. I always wondered how long she'd put up with it. She told you she was unhappy? She talks to Diane sometimes. Wives support group kind of thing. Diane mentioned that Lisa felt neglected, that she was thinking about leaving. Vincent felt the familiar clinical detachment settling over him. Mike's wife Diane had known Lisa was considering leaving, which meant other people in their social circle probably knew too. Vincent had been working himself to exhaustion to provide for his family while they were actively plotting against him. Mike, I need you to do something for me. Whatever you need. I need you to keep your mouth shut about where I am. Tell Lisa you haven't heard from me. Tell Diane the same thing. Mike looked uncomfortable. Vince, maybe you should come back and try to work this out. Marriage counseling, or would you work it out if you found out Diane was fucking another man and planning to send your kids away? That's different. How? Mike was quiet for a moment. Okay, point taken. But running away isn't going to solve anything. I'm not running away. I'm regrouping. The bathroom door opened and Emma appeared, her hair damp from washing her face. Hi, Dr. Reeves. Hey, Emma. Mike studied her face carefully. How are you doing, kiddo? Better than I've been in a long time, actually. Dad and I are going to start over somewhere new. Mike looked between Vincent and Emma, clearly struggling with something. Finally, he sighed. Vince, there's something else you should know. Ryan Kellerman isn't just some random pool guy. Vincent felt his blood pressure spike. What do you mean? He's been dating around in our neighborhood for the past couple of years. Always targets married women whose husbands work long hours. He's had affairs with at least 3 other wives that I know of. Jesus Christ. Diane heard about it through the gossip network. Apparently, he's got quite a system. Gets hired to do pool maintenance, identifies lonely wives, moves in for the kill. Usually the affairs last about 6 months before he moves on to the next target. Vincent absorbed this information, feeling pieces of a larger puzzle clicking into place. Lisa wasn't just having an affair, she was being played by a professional manipulator. Does Lisa know about his pattern? I don't think so. From what Diane heard, Lisa thinks she's special, that he really loves her. Emma spoke up from across the room. Dad, remember what I told you about him being at the house for 4 hours to fix the pool? I bet he wasn't there to fix anything. Vincent nodded. Ryan had been assessing the situation, figuring out Vincent's schedule, identifying Lisa's vulnerabilities. It was a calculated seduction, not a romantic connection. Mike, I need one more favor. Name it. I need you to find out everything you can about Ryan Kellerman's previous targets. Names, details about how the affairs ended, whether their marriages survived. Can you do that? Mike hesitated. Vince, what are you planning? I'm planning to make sure he doesn't target anyone else's family. That sounds like vigilante justice. Vincent looked at his friend steadily. That sounds like community service. After Mike left, promising to gather information while maintaining Vincent's secret location, Emma emerged from the bathroom where she'd been pretending not to listen. Dad, I have an idea. I'm listening. What if Ryan doesn't know that you know about the affair yet? What if we let him think he's still got the upper hand? Vincent considered this. Lisa had probably told Ryan about the letter by now, but Ryan might not understand the full extent of Vincent's knowledge. What are you thinking? Mom's phone. You said she uses my birthday as her passcode for everything. What if we could get back into the house and check her computer, her email, Maybe find more evidence about how long this has been going on. Vincent studied his daughter's face. Emma, if we do this, there's no going back. Once I have that evidence, I'm going to use it. Not just for the divorce, but to make sure both Lisa and Ryan understand that there are consequences for their choices. What kind of consequences? Vincent was quiet for a long moment, thinking about Ryan's pattern of targeting married women, about Lisa's plans to send Emma away, about Patricia's theft from the church fund. Individual pieces of information that, when combined properly, could be devastatingly effective. The kind that makes sure they never hurt another family the way they've hurt ours. Emma nodded slowly. When do we go? Tonight. Lisa and Patricia both go to evening mass on Saturdays. That gives us about 2 hours. As evening approached, Vincent felt the familiar pre-surgical calm settling over him. Every complex procedure required careful preparation, precise timing, and the absolute conviction that what you were doing was necessary. This would be no different. Chapter 4. The Infiltration. At 6:30 p.m. on Saturday evening, Vincent and Emma sat in his car at the end of their street, watching as Lisa's BMW and Patricia's Cadillac pulled out of the driveway together. St. Catherine's evening mass started at 7, which gave them approximately 90 minutes to gather what they needed. You remember the plan? Vincent asked quietly. I go straight to Mom's office while you check the master bedroom. We take pictures of everything with our phones. Don't move anything that might be noticed missing. If anyone comes home early, I text you and we meet at the side door. Vincent nodded. Emma had inherited his methodical approach to problem solving, and her insider knowledge of the house's routines made her invaluable for this operation. They entered through the garage using Vincent's remote, moving through the house like ghosts. The familiar space felt foreign now, contaminated by the knowledge of what had been happening within its walls. Emma headed directly to Lisa's small home office, while Vincent climbed the stairs to their bedroom. Lisa's computer was already logged in, another sign of her careless confidence. Vincent began systematically photographing the contents of her email, focusing on messages to and from Ryan Kellerman. What he found was worse than he'd imagined. The affair had been going on for 8 months, not the few weeks he'd assumed. Lisa and Ryan had explicit plans that extended far beyond a simple fling. They had researched boarding schools for Emma, discussed selling the house, even looked at properties in other states where they could start fresh together. More damaging were Lisa's emails to her sister Monica, detailing her complaints about Vincent and Emma. I'm so tired of pretending to care about Emma's little problems. She's not even my real daughter. She's just a reminder of Vincent's first marriage. Ryan understands that I need to put my own happiness first for once. Vincent stared at the screen, feeling something cold and final settle in his chest. Lisa had been married to Vincent for 12 years. She had helped raise Emma since she was 3 years old, and she thought of her as someone else's burden. His phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Dad, you need to see this. Mom's desk drawer. Vincent saved the emails to his phone and headed downstairs. Emma was standing in Lisa's office, holding a manila folder. What is it? Forged documents. Looks like Mom's been setting up a separate bank account using information from your medical practice. And there's correspondence with a lawyer about filing for divorce and claiming you've been abusive. Vincent examined the documents Emma had found. Lisa had been systematically preparing for divorce while maintaining the pretense of a happy marriage. The abuse allegations were particularly creative. She claimed Vincent's long work hours and emotional distance constituted psychological abuse that had damaged both her and Emma. There's more, Emma said quietly. I found a recording device in the living room. Looks like she's been trying to get you to say something she could use against you. Vincent felt his jaw tighten. Lisa hadn't just been having an affair. She'd been building a legal case designed to destroy his reputation and limit his access to Emma. Emma, take pictures of everything. I need to check something upstairs. Vincent returned to the master bedroom and began a more thorough search. Hidden in the back of Lisa's jewelry box, he found a burner phone. The text messages on it told the complete story of her relationship with Ryan, including detailed discussions about how to manage Vincent during the divorce process. The final message exchange made Vincent's blood run cold. Lisa, I talked to the lawyer again. If we can prove Vincent is unstable, I might be able to get full custody and restrict his visitation. Ryan, what about Emma? Will she cooperate? Lisa, Emma won't have a choice. Once she's at boarding school, she'll only be home for holidays. We can control what she sees and hears. Eventually, She'll understand that this is better for everyone. Ryan, and if Vincent fights it? Lisa, then we destroy him. I've been documenting his erratic behavior for months. Long work hours, emotional distance, anger issues. By the time I'm done, no court will give him unsupervised access to Emma. Vincent photographed every message, his hands perfectly steady despite the rage building in his chest. Lisa wasn't just planning to leave him. She was planning to destroy his relationship with his daughter and damage his medical career in the process. Emma appeared in the doorway. Dad, we need to go? I just saw headlights turn onto our street. They quickly finished gathering evidence and slipped out through the side door, reaching Vincent's car just as an unfamiliar truck pulled into their driveway. Through the windshield, Vincent saw a man who matched Emma's description of Ryan Kellerman. He's got a key, Emma whispered as they watched Ryan let himself into the house. Vincent sat in his car, watching another man enter his home with casual familiarity, and felt the last vestiges of his marriage die. Lisa hadn't just betrayed him. She had given Ryan access to everything Vincent had worked to build. Dad, are you okay? Vincent looked at his daughter, thinking about Lisa's plans to ship her away and limit his access to her. Emma had been living in a house where she was actively unwanted, surrounded by people who saw her as an obstacle to their happiness. I'm better than okay, sweetheart. I'm focused. As they drove away from the house, Vincent's phone rang. It was Mike Reeves. Vince, I got that information you wanted about Ryan Kellerman. It's worse than we thought. How much worse? 3 previous affairs, all with married women in upscale neighborhoods. In every case, the women thought they were in love and that he was going to leave his wife for them. But Ryan was never married. He's a professional con artist who targets lonely wives with wealthy husbands. Vincent absorbed this information. What happened to the marriages? 2 ended in divorce. The husbands got destroyed financially because their wives had been manipulated into hiding assets and running up debt. The 3rd marriage survived, but barely. That couple moved across the country to get away from the scandal. And Ryan? He disappears for a few months, then resurfaces in a new area with a new identity. Different last name, different background story, same MO. Vincent felt pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. Ryan wasn't just having an affair with Lisa. He was running a long-term con designed to extract as much money as possible before moving on to his next target. Mike, I need one more favor. Can you find out Ryan's real name and background? Already on it. His real name is Ryan Mitchell. He's originally from Phoenix. Has a record for fraud and identity theft going back 15 years. Vincent smiled for the first time in days. Perfect. Send me everything you can find. After hanging up, Vincent turned to Emma. How would you like to learn about justice, sweetheart? What do you mean? Your mother and Ryan think they're very clever. They've been planning to destroy our family and steal everything I've worked for. But they made one crucial mistake. What's that? Vincent's smile was cold and calculating. They assumed I would be a passive victim. Emma studied her father's face. What are we going to do? We're going to give them exactly what they deserve. And we're going to make sure they never hurt another family again. As they drove back to the hotel, Vincent began explaining his plan to his daughter. It was complex, ruthless, and absolutely devastating. Emma listened carefully, asking intelligent questions and offering suggestions that made the plan even more effective. By the time they reached the hotel, both father and daughter were smiling. Chapter 5. The Perfect Trap. Vincent spent Sunday morning making phone calls from the hotel business center while Emma researched boarding schools online. Not because they were considering them, but because they needed to understand exactly what Lisa and Ryan had planned for her future. The first call was to his lawyer, David Chun, who agreed to meet them Monday morning for an emergency consultation. The second was to Father Miguel at St. Catherine's, requesting a private meeting about a delicate matter concerning parish finances. The third was to the Phoenix Police Department, where Detective Sarah Walsh was very interested to learn that Ryan Mitchell had resurfaced under a new identity. Emma, Vincent said as they sat in the hotel restaurant for lunch, I need you to understand something about what we're going to do. Once we set this in motion, there's no stopping it. Your mother and Ryan are going to face consequences that will change their lives permanently. Emma looked up from her salad. Dad, they were planning to destroy your career and send me away so they could be together. They deserve whatever happens to them. Vincent studied his daughter's face. At 15, Emma was already showing the kind of moral clarity that had taken him 42 years to develop. All right then, here's what's going to happen. The plan Vincent outlined was elegant in its simplicity and devastating in its execution. Every element was designed to use Lisa and Ryan's own actions against them, creating a cascade of consequences that would destroy their relationship and leave them both facing serious legal problems. Phase 1 would begin Monday morning with Vincent's lawyer filing for divorce on grounds of adultery, supported by the evidence they'd gathered from Lisa's computer and phone. But instead of serving Lisa immediately, they would wait. Phase 2 involved Detective Walsh. Ryan Mitchell was wanted in Phoenix on outstanding fraud charges. His current identity as Ryan Kellerman was itself a crime. All Detective Walsh needed was confirmation of his location and evidence of his ongoing criminal activity. Phase 3 was where Emma's knowledge of Patricia's embezzlement would come into play. Father Miguel had been suspicious of missing funds for months, but hadn't been able to prove anything. Vincent would provide the evidence, but only after ensuring Patricia understood exactly why her life was imploding. But Dad, Emma said thoughtfully, if we expose everything at once, they might be able to work together to minimize the damage. What if we made them turn on each other first? Vincent paused, impressed by his daughter's tactical thinking. What do you have in mind? What if Ryan thought Mom was betraying him? What if Mom thought Ryan was using her? Go on. Emma's eyes gleamed with an intelligence that reminded Vincent why he was so proud of her. Ryan doesn't know that we know about his real identity or his criminal record. What if we let him think Mom found out and was threatening to expose him? Vincent considered this. If Ryan believed Lisa was a threat to his freedom, his survival instincts would override any romantic feelings. He would either flee immediately or take steps to silence her. And what about your mother? She thinks she's in love, right? What if she found out about his other women? What if she realized she was just another mark? Vincent smiled. Emma, you have a devious mind. I'm very proud of you. That evening, they put phase 1 into motion. Vincent called Lisa for the first time since leaving the house. Vincent, thank God. Where are you? Where's Emma? I've been going crazy with worry. We're safe. That's all you need to know. This is insane. You can't just disappear with Emma because you're having some kind of midlife crisis. Lisa, we need to talk. Just the two of us. No lawyers, no family members, no other distractions. There was a pause. Okay. Yes. Where do you want to meet? Tomorrow night. 7 p.m. The restaurant at the Marriott downtown. Come alone. Vincent, I love you. We can work this out. Maybe we can. But first, we need complete honesty between us. After hanging up, Vincent looked at Emma. She agreed to meet. Now for the hard part. While Lisa was agreeing to meet Vincent, Emma was implementing her own part of the plan. Using her mother's laptop password, she logged into Lisa's email account and sent a carefully crafted message to Ryan. Ryan, I need to see you urgently. Vincent is asking questions about the money I've been transferring to our joint account. I think he might be having me investigated. We need to talk about protecting ourselves before this gets out of hand. Can you meet me tomorrow night at 8 p.m. at our usual place? I'm scared about what might happen if he finds out about us before we're ready. Lisa. The message was designed to make Ryan believe that Vincent was closing in on their financial schemes and that Lisa was panicking. A panicked accomplice was a dangerous liability. Now we wait, Vincent said. By tomorrow night, they'll both be so paranoid about each other that they won't be thinking clearly. What about Grandma Patricia? She gets a visit from Father Miguel tomorrow afternoon. I've already sent him copies of the church financial records showing the missing money, along with a detailed explanation of how Patricia has been covering her tracks. Emma nodded approvingly. And after Mom and Ryan destroy each other tomorrow night, Detective Walsh will be waiting to arrest Ryan Mitchell on outstanding warrants. Your mother will find herself facing charges for financial fraud and conspiracy. And Patricia will be explaining to the police why she's been stealing from a church charity. Vincent looked out the hotel window at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Lisa was probably calling Ryan to tell him about the meeting tomorrow night. Patricia was likely trying to figure out how to spin the Christmas dinner incident to make Vincent look unreasonable. Ryan was probably planning his next move in what he thought was a simple con game. None of them understood that they were walking into a carefully constructed trap. Dad, Emma said quietly. What if Mom tries to apologize? What if she says she'll end the affair and go to counseling? Vincent considered the question carefully. Emma, your mother has been planning to destroy my career, steal my assets, and send you away so she can be with another man. She's been recording our conversations to build a false case of abuse. She's been lying to me, to you, and to everyone who cares about our family. An apology doesn't undo that kind of betrayal. So no matter what she says tomorrow night, we're going through with the plan? No matter what she says. Emma nodded, satisfied. Good. I want her to face consequences for what she did to us. Vincent looked at his daughter and saw his own determination reflected in her eyes. Emma had learned a hard lesson about trust and betrayal, but she'd also learned that people who hurt others should face consequences for their actions. It was a lesson that would serve her well in life. Tomorrow night, Lisa and Ryan would learn that some betrayals carried a price too high to pay. Chapter 6. The First Domino. Monday afternoon brought 3 crucial developments that set the final phase of Vincent's plan into motion. First, Detective Walsh called to confirm that Ryan Mitchell's fingerprints matched those on file in Phoenix. The outstanding warrants were still active, and Arizona was requesting immediate extradition once he was apprehended. Second, Father Miguel's meeting with Patricia had gone exactly as Vincent had predicted. Confronted with documentary evidence of her embezzlement, Patricia had broken down and confessed to stealing nearly $15,000 from the church charity fund over 3 years. Father Miguel was meeting with the parish attorney Monday evening to determine whether to file criminal charges. Third, and most satisfying, Emma's fake email to Ryan had triggered exactly the response they'd hoped for. Ryan had replied immediately, agreeing to meet Lisa at their usual place, which Emma informed Vincent was a cabin he rented outside the city. But Ryan's response had included details that revealed his growing paranoia. Lisa, if Vincent is having you investigated, we need to be very careful. Delete all our emails and texts. Move the money to the offshore account we discussed. If this goes bad, you need to be able to deny everything. I'll handle Vincent if he becomes a problem. The phrase, I'll handle Vincent, was particularly useful. It implied a threat that could be interpreted multiple ways by law enforcement. Now, at 6:45 p.m., Vincent sat in the Marriott restaurant waiting for Lisa to arrive. Emma was safely back at the hotel with explicit instructions to call hotel security if anyone other than Vincent tried to contact her. Lisa arrived 15 minutes late, looking nervous and overdressed in a way that suggested she thought this meeting might be salvageable. She'd always been beautiful, and she'd clearly made an effort tonight to remind Vincent of what he'd be losing. Vincent, she slid into the booth across from him, reaching for his hand. I'm so glad you called. I've been miserable without you and Emma. Vincent didn't pull his hand away, but he didn't return her touch either. Have you? Of course. This whole thing has been a terrible misunderstanding. I never meant for Emma to feel excluded at Christmas. Your mother and I were just trying to give her some space to spend time with the younger cousins. The lie came so easily that Vincent almost admired her skill. Lisa had always been a gifted manipulator, but he'd never seen it directed at him so blatantly before. And what about Ryan? Lisa's face went carefully blank. Ryan? The pool maintenance man? What about him? Lisa, I know about the affair. I know about your plans to send Emma to boarding school. I know about the fake abuse allegations you've been preparing for the divorce. The color drained from Lisa's face, but she rallied quickly. Vincent, I don't know what you think you know, but I know about the separate bank account. I know about the cabin. I know you've been recording our conversations to try to make me look unstable. Lisa stared at him for a long moment, then seemed to deflate. How long have you known? Since Christmas morning. I found your phone. Jesus Christ. Lisa buried her face in her hands. Vincent, I can explain everything. I'm listening. Lisa looked up, tears streaming down her face. I was lonely. You work such long hours, and I felt like I was raising Emma by myself while you were off being the hero doctor. Ryan paid attention to me. He made me feel special. So you decided to destroy our marriage and send my daughter away. No, it wasn't supposed to happen like this. Ryan convinced me that Emma would be happier at boarding school, that she needed more structure than we could provide. And the divorce. Vincent, I thought you'd be relieved. You seem so unhappy at home. Vincent studied his wife's face, looking for any sign of genuine remorse. What he saw instead was calculation. Even now, even caught red-handed, Lisa was trying to manipulate the situation to her advantage. Lisa, what's Ryan's real name? The question caught her off guard. What do you mean? His name is Ryan Kellerman. No, it's not. His real name is Ryan Mitchell. He's a career criminal who specializes in seducing married women and stealing their assets. You're not his first victim, Lisa. You're just his latest mark. Lisa's face went white. That's not, you're lying. Vincent pulled out his phone and showed her the police report Detective Walsh had sent him. Ryan Mitchell, age 34, multiple arrests for fraud and identity theft. He's wanted in Phoenix on outstanding warrants. The FBI has been tracking him for 2 years. Lisa stared at the police report, her hands shaking. This can't be right. Ryan loves me. We're planning a future together. What future? Did he ever actually talk about leaving his wife? Did he ever give you a timeline for when you'd be together permanently? Lisa's silence was answer enough. There is no wife, Lisa. There never was. Ryan's entire identity is fake. He rents month-to-month apartments under assumed names, moves every 6 months, targets wealthy women in upscale neighborhoods. It's a business model. But the money, we opened the account together. An account he can access remotely. How much have you transferred to it? About $40,000. Oh God. Lisa's face crumpled as the reality of her situation hit her. He's been playing me this whole time. Vincent felt a moment of something that might have been pity, but it passed quickly. Lisa, you were planning to destroy my career and send Emma away for a man you'd known for 8 months. Even if Ryan had been legitimate, that would have been unforgivable. Vincent, please. I made a terrible mistake. But we can fix this. I'll end things with Ryan. Go to counseling, whatever you want. Just please don't divorce me. It's too late for that. What do you mean? Vincent checked his watch. 8:15 p.m. Right about now, Ryan would be arriving at the cabin, expecting to meet with a panicked Lisa who was worried about Vincent's investigation. Instead, he would find Detective Walsh and a team of officers waiting to arrest him. Lisa, by now your boyfriend has been arrested on outstanding warrants. The FBI is seizing the bank account you opened together as evidence in his fraud case. And tomorrow morning, you're going to be facing your own charges for conspiracy and financial fraud. Lisa stared at him in horror. You set this up. I exposed the truth. There's a difference. Vincent, you can't do this to me. I'm your wife. You stopped being my wife the moment you started planning to destroy my relationship with Emma. Lisa's expression shifted from panic to anger. Fine. You want to play hardball? I'll destroy you in court. I have recordings of you threatening me, documentation of your emotional abuse, witnesses who will testify that you're an unfit father. Vincent smiled coldly. The recordings where you edited out your own responses to make me look unstable? The witnesses who will have to admit under oath that they helped you exclude Emma from family events? The abuse allegations that coincidentally started the same week you opened a secret bank account with your criminal boyfriend? Lisa's face went pale as she realized how thoroughly her plans had been exposed. It's over, Lisa. Your boyfriend is in jail, your mother-in-law is being charged with embezzlement, and you're about to face federal charges for conspiracy to commit fraud. Patricia? What does she have to do with any of this? She's been stealing from the church charity fund for 3 years. Father Miguel has all the evidence now. Turns out your whole family has been living a lie. Lisa sat in stunned silence for several minutes. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. What about Emma? Emma will be fine. She'll be living with her father, who actually loves her and would never consider sending her away for his own convenience. Vincent, please. I'm begging you. Don't destroy me completely. Vincent stood up, dropping a $20 bill on the table. Lisa, you destroyed yourself the moment you chose to betray the people who loved you. I'm just making sure everyone else can see what you really are. As he walked away, Vincent could hear Lisa crying behind him, but he didn't look back. The first domino had fallen. By tomorrow, the rest would follow in rapid succession. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. Tuesday morning brought chaos to Lisa's carefully constructed world. Vincent watched from the hotel restaurant as local news reported the arrest of a confidence man who targeted wealthy suburban women and the investigation into financial irregularities at a local church. The stories didn't mention names yet, but they would soon enough. Emma looked up from her eggs Benedict with satisfaction. Do you think Mom's seen the news yet? I'm sure she has. Along with about 50 text messages from people asking if she's okay. Vincent's phone had been remarkably quiet since he'd left Lisa at the restaurant the night before. No desperate calls, no pleading voicemails, no attempts to negotiate. Either Lisa was in shock, or she was consulting with a lawyer. At 10 a.m., they had their meeting with David Chun, Vincent's attorney. Chen had reviewed all the evidence Vincent and Emma had gathered and was confident that the divorce would be swift and decisive. The adultery is well documented, Chen explained, but the financial fraud and the conspiracy charges will be the real problem for Lisa. The FBI is treating this as part of a larger investigation into Ryan Mitchell's criminal network. She's looking at potential federal charges. What about custody of Emma? With Lisa facing criminal charges and the documentation of her plans to send Emma away, I can't imagine any court granting her custody. The abuse allegations she was preparing actually work against her now. They show premeditation and malicious intent. Emma spoke up from her chair. What happens to all the money Mom transferred to Ryan's account? The FBI has frozen the account, Chen replied. The money will eventually be returned as evidence of fraud, but it could take months. In the meantime, Lisa is going to have significant legal expenses with no access to the funds she was hiding. Vincent nodded grimly. Lisa had thought she was being clever by moving money away from their joint accounts. Instead, she'd provided evidence of her own criminal activity. David, I want you to file for full custody of Emma, alimony termination, and division of assets based on Lisa's financial fraud. She gets nothing that she tried to hide from me. That's going to leave her in a very difficult position financially, especially with legal fees. That's her problem to solve. After the meeting with Chun, Vincent and Emma drove to St. Catherine's Church for the second phase of their plan. Father Miguel had asked Vincent to meet with him about Patricia's situation, ostensibly to discuss restitution and family support. They found Patricia sitting in Father Miguel's office, looking older and more fragile than Vincent had ever seen her. The confident, manipulative woman who had excluded Emma from Christmas dinner was gone, replaced by someone who finally understood the consequences of her actions. Vincent, Patricia said weakly, I was hoping you'd come. Hello, Patricia. Father Miguel gestured for Vincent and Emma to sit down. I've been discussing the situation with your mother, Vincent. She's agreed to make full restitution to the charity fund, and she's expressed deep remorse for her actions. Vincent looked at Patricia steadily. Have you? I made a terrible mistake, Patricia said, not meeting his eyes. I was having financial difficulties, and I thought I could replace the money before anyone noticed. It just kept getting worse. What financial difficulties? Patricia was quiet for a long moment. I've been gambling, Vincent. Online poker, sports betting. I lost more than I could afford, and I panicked. Vincent felt another piece of the puzzle click into place. Patricia's increasing demands for financial help, her anxiety about money, her willingness to support Lisa's plans to send Emma away. It was all connected to a gambling addiction. How much do you owe? About $30,000. I used the church money to make minimum payments, but the debt just kept growing. Vincent looked at his mother, seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time in his adult life. Patricia Torres had always been manipulative and controlling, but he'd attributed it to personality flaws rather than addiction-driven desperation. Patricia, you supported Lisa's plan to send Emma to boarding school because you needed my financial support to cover your gambling debts. That's not. I thought boarding school might be good for Emma's development. You excluded my daughter from Christmas dinner in her own home because you were afraid she might interfere with Lisa's plans. Plans that would ensure I kept supporting you financially. Patricia finally looked up, tears streaming down her face. Vincent, I'm sorry. I know what we did was wrong. You're not sorry about what you did to Emma. You're sorry you got caught. Emma spoke up quietly. Grandma, you made me feel like I wasn't part of the family. Do you have any idea how much that hurt? Patricia looked at Emma with something that might have been guilt. Emma, I never meant to hurt you. I was just trying to solve my problems. By sacrificing me. The simple truth of Emma's statement hung in the air. Patricia had been willing to destroy a 15-year-old girl's sense of family and belonging to cover her own financial mistakes. Father Miguel cleared his throat. Vincent, Patricia has agreed to enter a gambling addiction program and make monthly payments to restore the missing funds. The parish board is willing to accept this arrangement rather than pursuing criminal charges, but only if the family can provide a guarantee for the restitution. Vincent understood what was being asked. Father Miguel wanted him to cover Patricia's debt to avoid the scandal of criminal charges against a church treasurer. No. Vincent, please, Patricia said. If I go to jail, it will destroy what's left of our family. You destroyed our family, Patricia. You and Lisa together. You chose gambling and manipulation over the well-being of a 15-year-old girl. But I'm your mother. Vincent looked at Patricia for a long moment, thinking about Emma spending Christmas alone while Patricia and Lisa enjoyed their adult time together. A mother protects her grandchildren. She doesn't sacrifice them for her own convenience. You stopped being my mother the moment you chose to hurt Emma. Patricia's face crumpled. Vincent, you can't mean that. Father Miguel, Patricia will need to face criminal charges. I won't be providing any financial support or legal assistance. She made her choices, and now she gets to live with the consequences. Vincent stood up, taking Emma's hand. Come on, sweetheart. We're done here. As they walked out of the church, Emma squeezed her father's hand. Dad, was that hard? Cutting ties with your mom? Vincent considered the question. It should have been harder than it was. But she stopped being my mother the moment she decided you were expendable. No regrets. None. They drove back toward the hotel, but Vincent pulled into a parking lot overlooking the city instead. Emma, there's one more thing we need to discuss. What's that? This morning I got a call from Denver General Hospital. They've offered me a position as head of emergency medicine. It's a significant promotion, better pay, and it would give us a chance to start completely fresh. Emma's eyes lit up. When would we move? As soon as the divorce is finalized. Maybe 6 weeks. What about school? There's an excellent public school near the hospital. Small classes, strong academics, and you'd be able to start over without any of the baggage from here. Emma was quiet for a moment, looking out at the city where she'd grown up. Dad, will Mom be able to visit me in Denver? Vincent had been dreading this question. Emma, your mother is facing serious criminal charges. Even if she avoids prison time, she's going to have legal restrictions on travel for several years. And honestly, after what she was planning to do to you, I'm not comfortable with unsupervised visits. I understand. And I'm okay with that. She showed me who she really is. Vincent studied his daughter's face, impressed by her emotional maturity. Emma, you know that none of this was your fault, right? Your mother's choices, Patricia's choices, the affair, the lies, none of that had anything to do with you. I know, Dad, and I know you'll never abandon me the way they did. Vincent felt his throat tighten with emotion. Never. You're the most important thing in my life, Emma. Everything I do is to protect you and give you the best future possible. Then let's go to Denver. Let's start over. As they drove back to the hotel, Vincent's phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. You destroyed my life for nothing. Ryan never loved me. I lost everything for a lie. I hope you're happy. Vincent showed the message to Emma, who read it and shrugged. She destroyed her own life, Dad. You just made sure everyone could see what she'd done. Vincent deleted the message without responding. Lisa had made her choices, and now she was facing the consequences. His responsibility was to Emma, not to the woman who had planned to betray them both. Tomorrow, they would start looking at apartments in Denver. Next week, they would put the house on the market. Within 2 months, they would be building a new life together, free from the people who had tried to destroy their family. Vincent Torres had always been a surgeon, trained to cut away diseased tissue to save the healthy parts. Now he had applied those same skills to his personal life, and both he and Emma were going to be stronger for it. Chapter 8: Consequences and New Beginnings. 6 weeks later, Vincent stood in the empty living room of what had been their family home, watching the moving truck pull away with the last of his and Emma's possessions. The house had sold within a week. Apparently, the pool and landscaping Ryan had worked on were particularly attractive to buyers who didn't know the full story. Emma appeared beside him, her backpack slung over her shoulder. Ready to go, Dad? Ready. The past month and a half had brought a cascade of consequences for everyone involved in the betrayal. Ryan Mitchell had been extradited to Phoenix, where he was facing multiple felony charges that would likely keep him in prison for the next decade. The FBI's investigation had uncovered a network of similar cons across 5 states, with dozens of victims. Lisa had been charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and money laundering. Her lawyer had negotiated a plea deal that would keep her out of federal prison, but she was facing 3 years of probation, massive fines, and restitution payments that would consume most of her remaining assets. The divorce had been finalized with Vincent receiving full custody of Emma and the majority of their shared assets. Patricia had been formally charged with embezzlement and was awaiting sentencing. Her gambling addiction had cost her not only her freedom, but her relationship with her son and granddaughter. Vincent had heard through mutual acquaintances that she was living with her sister Monica and working as a cashier to pay legal fees. But the most satisfying consequence had been watching Lisa's social circle turn against her as the full story emerged. The women who had once envied her lifestyle now whispered about her gullibility and poor judgment. The couples who had double-dated with Lisa and Vincent now avoided her completely, embarrassed by their association with the scandal. Vincent felt no pity for any of them. They had made their choices, and choices had consequences. "Dad," Emma said as they walked to the car, "do you ever wonder what would have happened if you hadn't found out about the affair?" Vincent considered the question. "You would have been shipped off to boarding school. I would have lost most of my assets in a rigged divorce, and Ryan would have disappeared with whatever money he could steal. By the time I figured out what had happened, it would have been too late to stop any of it. So finding out saved us. Finding out saved us. But more importantly, fighting back saved us. If I had just accepted the betrayal and tried to work things out, we'd both still be living with people who saw us as obstacles to their happiness." Emma nodded thoughtfully. "I'm glad you're not the kind of person who forgives and forgets. Some things shouldn't be forgiven, sweetheart. When people show you who they really are, believe them the first time." The drive to Denver took 8 hours, with Emma navigating and Vincent driving his practical sedan packed with their immediate necessities. They had deliberately traveled light, bringing only what they needed to start fresh. Everything else could be replaced. Their new apartment was in a modern building near the hospital, with mountain views and a community pool that Emma had already claimed for her daily swimming routine. Vincent's new position came with a significant raise and better hours. No more 36-hour shifts. No more missing important moments in Emma's life. "Dad," Emma said as they unpacked boxes in their new kitchen, "I want you to know something." "What's that?" "This is the happiest I've ever been. Even with everything that happened, even knowing that Mom and Grandma don't love me the way I thought they did. I feel free." Vincent paused in his unpacking to look at his daughter. Emma had grown 2 inches in the past 6 weeks and was beginning to look more like a young woman than a child. But more than her physical growth, she seemed emotionally stronger, more confident, more sure of herself. "You know what, Emma? I feel free too. Do you miss Mom at all?" Vincent considered the question honestly. "I miss the woman I thought she was. But that woman was never real. The real Lisa was someone who could plan to send you away and destroy my career for her own convenience. I don't miss that person at all." "What about Grandma Patricia?" "Same answer. I miss the mother I thought I had, but I don't miss the woman who excluded you from your own family." Emma nodded, satisfied. "Good. I was worried you might try to reconcile with them eventually." "Never. Some betrayals are permanent, Emma. When people show you that their love is conditional, that it can be withdrawn when you become inconvenient, you have to take them at their word." That evening, as they sat on their new balcony watching the sunset over the Rocky Mountains, Vincent's phone rang. The caller ID showed Lisa's number. "Aren't you going to answer?" Emma asked. "No point. We have nothing to say to each other." The phone stopped ringing, then immediately started again. "She's persistent," Emma observed. "Desperation will do that." Vincent turned off his phone and set it aside. Tomorrow, he would change their numbers. Tonight, he just wanted to enjoy the peace of knowing that he and Emma were safe, together, and free from people who had never deserved their love in the first place. "Dad," Emma said quietly, "thank you." "For what?" "For choosing me. For fighting for me. For showing me that I'm worth protecting." Vincent felt his throat tighten with emotion. "Emma, you never needed to thank me for that. You're my daughter. Protecting you isn't a choice, it's who I am." "I know, but I wanted to say it anyway." They sat in comfortable silence as the sun disappeared behind the mountains. Tomorrow, Emma would start at her new school and Vincent would begin his new position at the hospital. They would build new routines, make new friends, create new memories. But tonight, they were simply a father and daughter who had survived betrayal and emerged stronger together. Vincent Torres had learned that the most important surgery he could perform was cutting toxic people out of his life. And the results had been life-saving. Chapter 9. No Mercy, No Forgiveness. 1 year later, Dr. Vincent Torres was reviewing charts in his office at Denver General when his assistant knocked on the door. "Dr. Torres? There's a woman here to see you. She says she's your ex-wife and that it's urgent." Vincent looked up from his paperwork, feeling nothing but mild annoyance at the interruption. "Tell her I'm not available. She says it's about Emma. She seems pretty desperate, sir." Vincent set down his pen carefully. In the past year, he had spoken to Lisa exactly twice, both times through lawyers regarding final divorce paperwork. She had been forbidden from contacting Emma directly due to the conditions of her probation. Send her in, but leave the door open. Lisa entered his office looking dramatically different from the polished woman he had been married to. Her clothes were off the rack and slightly wrinkled. Her hair was dyed an unfortunate shade of brown, and she had the thin, desperate look of someone who had been living on stress for months. Vincent, thank you for seeing me. You have 5 minutes. What do you want? Lisa sat down uninvited, her hands shaking slightly. I want to see Emma. It's been over a year since I've talked to my daughter. Emma isn't your daughter. You made that clear when you planned to ship her off to boarding school for your convenience. That was a mistake. I was confused, manipulated by Ryan. I know I screwed up, but Emma is still my stepdaughter. I raised her for 12 years. Vincent studied Lisa's face, noting the careful way she avoided taking full responsibility for her actions. Even now, even after losing everything, she was still trying to manipulate the narrative. Lisa, Emma is 16 years old. She's thriving in school. She has friends. She's happy. Why would I disrupt that so you can feel better about your choices? Because I love her. I made mistakes, but I do love Emma, and I think she loves me too. You're wrong. The simple statement hit Lisa like a physical blow. What do you mean? Emma doesn't love you, Lisa. She's relieved you're gone. She told me last week that she hopes she never has to see you again. Lisa's face crumpled. She can't mean that. Vincent opened his desk drawer and pulled out a letter. Emma wrote this for her college application essay. It's about family, loyalty, and learning to recognize when people show you who they really are. Would you like to hear what she said about you? Vincent, please don't. Vincent began reading aloud. I learned that love isn't just about what people say. It's about what they do when you're vulnerable. My stepmother claimed to love me for 12 years, but when it became convenient to send me away, she was willing to sacrifice my well-being for her own happiness. That taught me that some people's love is conditional, and that conditional love isn't really love at all. Lisa was crying now, but Vincent continued reading. My father, on the other hand, gave up everything to protect me. He lost his marriage, his home, his relationship with his mother, and his entire social circle rather than allow people to treat me as expendable. That's when I learned the difference between people who say they love you and people who actually do. Vincent set the letter down and looked at Lisa steadily. Emma submitted that essay to Harvard, Stanford, and MIT. All 3 schools accepted her with full scholarships. She's going to be a doctor, Lisa. Despite your best efforts to derail her life, she's going to be extraordinary. I never wanted to derail her life. I thought boarding school would be good for her. You thought boarding school would get her out of the way so you could live with your criminal boyfriend. Don't rewrite history now that you're facing the consequences. Lisa wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. Vincent, I know I made terrible mistakes, but I've paid for them. I lost everything. My marriage, my home, my reputation, most of my money. I'm living in a studio apartment and working retail. Haven't I suffered enough? Vincent leaned back in his chair, feeling the familiar clinical detachment that had served him so well in surgery. Lisa, you didn't just make mistakes. You made calculated decisions designed to destroy my relationship with my daughter and steal assets I had worked 15 years to accumulate. The fact that your criminal boyfriend was playing you doesn't change what you were willing to do to us. But I love Emma. No, you don't. You love the idea of not being alone with your guilt. You want Emma's forgiveness so you can feel better about yourself, but you don't actually care about what's best for her. Lisa was quiet for a moment, then tried a different approach. What about Patricia? She's your mother, Vincent. She's dying. Vincent felt a brief spike of surprise, then nothing. I'm sorry to hear that. That's it. Your mother is dying, and you're sorry to hear it. Patricia stopped being my mother when she chose to hurt Emma for her own benefit. Her medical condition doesn't change what she did. She wants to see you and Emma before she dies. To apologize, to make things right. There's nothing to make right. Patricia showed us who she really was. We believed her. Lisa stared at him in horror. How can you be so cold? How can you just cut people out of your life like they never mattered? Vincent considered the question carefully. Lisa, when you planned to send Emma away, did you consider how it would affect her? When you recorded our conversations to build a false abuse case, did you think about what that would do to my medical career? When you opened secret bank accounts with your boyfriend, did you care about betraying the trust I'd placed in you for 20 years? That's different. No, it's not. You made calculated decisions to hurt people who loved you. I'm making calculated decisions to protect my daughter from people who hurt her. The difference is that my decisions are based on love, and yours were based on selfishness. Lisa stood up abruptly. Fine. I can see you're never going to forgive me. But what about Emma? Doesn't she deserve the chance to decide for herself whether she wants a relationship with me? Vincent smiled coldly. Emma has decided. She blocked your phone number. She refused the birthday card you sent through my lawyer, and she's legally changing her last name to Torres, so there's no connection to you at all. You turned her against me. I didn't have to. You did that yourself when you excluded her from Christmas dinner in her own home. Lisa stood there for a moment, seeming to understand finally that there would be no reconciliation, no forgiveness, no second chances. Vincent, I know you hate me, but someday Emma is going to want answers about her family, about why things happened the way they did. What are you going to tell her? Vincent stood up, indicating the meeting was over. I'm going to tell her the truth. That some people can be trusted with your love, and some people can't. That actions have consequences. And that when someone shows you they're willing to sacrifice you for their own convenience, you should believe them. And you think that's a healthy lesson for a 16-year-old? I think it's the most important lesson she could learn. Emma will never be vulnerable to people like you because she understands the difference between real love and manipulation. Lisa walked toward the door, then turned back one last time. Vincent, I hope someday you can find it in your heart to forgive me. Vincent looked at his ex-wife, the woman who had shared his bed for 20 years while planning to betray everything they had built together, and felt absolutely nothing. Lisa, forgiveness would require me to care about your well-being. I don't. You're nothing to me now except a cautionary tale I tell my daughter about trusting the wrong people. After Lisa left, Vincent returned to his charts, feeling the same calm satisfaction he experienced after a successful surgery. Another diseased element had been removed from their lives. That evening, he and Emma had dinner at their favorite restaurant to celebrate her acceptance to MIT's pre-med program. Dad, Emma said over dessert. Mom came to see you today, didn't she? How did you know? Dr. Phillips mentioned seeing a woman in the lobby who looked upset. She described her, and it sounded like Mom. Vincent nodded. She wanted to see you. I told her no. Good. I have nothing to say to her. She also mentioned that Patricia is dying. Emma was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry she's sick, but that doesn't change what she did to us. Vincent studied his daughter's face, seeing his own moral clarity reflected there. Emma had learned to distinguish between pity and obligation, between forgiveness and enabling. No regrets, he asked. None. You taught me that some people don't deserve second chances, Dad. Mom and Grandma Patricia proved they couldn't be trusted with our love. I'm not going to pretend otherwise just because one of them is dying. Vincent felt a surge of pride in his daughter's strength and clarity. At 16, Emma had already learned lessons about loyalty and consequences that some people never mastered. Emma, are you happy with the life we've built here? Happier than I've ever been. I have a father who would do anything to protect me. I'm going to the best university in the country, and I never have to pretend that people who hurt me deserve my forgiveness. What more could I want? Vincent smiled, thinking about the letter Emma had written for her college applications. His daughter was going to be a doctor, just like him. But more importantly, she was going to be someone who couldn't be manipulated or betrayed, because she understood the true cost of trusting the wrong people. Dad, Emma said as they walked to the car. Do you think Mom will keep trying to contact us? Probably. Desperate people don't give up easily. What do we do when she does? Vincent looked at his daughter, brilliant, strong, uncompromising in her standards for how people should treat those they claim to love. We ignore her. Some bridges should stay burned, Emma. Some people don't get to come back into your life just because they want to. Emma nodded, satisfied. Good. I like our life better without people who think love is negotiable. As they drove home through the Denver streets, Vincent reflected on the past year. He had lost a wife, a mother, and a comfortable illusion about family loyalty. In return, he had gained absolute clarity about what mattered most and an unshakable bond with the one person who had never betrayed his trust. Dr. Vincent Torres had performed many successful surgeries in his career, but the most important one had been cutting the toxic people out of his and Emma's lives. The patient, their family of two, had made a complete recovery. and there would be no follow-up appointments with the people who had tried to destroy them. Some amputations were permanent, some betrayals were unforgivable, and some people simply didn't deserve a second chance to hurt the ones they claimed to love. Vincent Torres understood this now, and he had taught his daughter the same lesson. Neither of them would ever be vulnerable to false love again.